What's going on, guys, and welcome to the first episode of Club and Country. Yes, for those of you out there who watched in FIFA 15, thank you very much for watching, but for those who didn't watch Club and Country last year, then you may not know what this series is all about, so let me explain as quickly as possible. Basically, Club and Country is a road to glory career mode, so a good old-fashioned RTG where the main objective is simple: take a poor side and make them the best in the world. However, there's a twist which makes this series a lot more interesting. We're only allowed to sign players that are eligible to play for the same nationality as the club, and the side objective of the career is to also manage the nation and make them the best country in the world, and also call up as many players from the club to lead that country to success, hence the name Club and Country. Clever, isn't it? So with Club and Country, it's all about progression, young players, and tough challenges. And if that sounds like your kind of series, then make sure you stick around and become a subscriber if you're not one already, because this is going to be a lot of fun. Now, the side we'll be using for this year's Club and Country is Paris FC, and of course the country will be France. The reason we're using Paris FC is because on Thursday evening I posted to Twitter a store poll to let you guys decide what team I should start at, either Paris FC or 1860 Munich, and you guys decided to vote for the French team. It was a very close vote, in all honesty. If you want to see the final results, then click on the link in the description provided for you below, but of course we have to go with the majority, so thank you everyone for voting. I really appreciate that, and of course make sure if you're not following me on Twitter already at @DocLanders, then do so immediately. That way you can get involved in decisions like this. So Paris FC won the vote, and they're the team we'll be doing this year's Club and Country with. So Paris FC, what's their squad like? Well, it's not great, obviously. It's going to be a road to glory career mode, and therefore we're starting from the bottom and we want to take them to the top. And of course in Club and Country we're only allowed to use players that are eligible to play for France, and as you can see, some of these players are actually foreign players and not able to play for the French national team, and therefore they'll need to be sold on or loaned out, depending on whether they're recently joined the club or not, in order to basically bring in more players and make sure we can actually use them for, again, Club and Country. So it's got some good players, Paris FC. The team's got some good players. It's not too bad. It's good enough, I would say, for the French second tier, which is of course where Paris FC will be starting off with after getting promoted to the second tier of French football last season. So it's not too bad. There are a couple of decent players in there that we could use right from the beginning, but of course, obviously what we really want to do is bring in loads of young talent right from the beginning. Now, the budget with Paris FC isn't really the best. It's under £1 million, and that's even after the 60% bonus as well that I get for playing the game before. So yeah, it's not a great budget, and this is going to take an awful long time to get Paris FC to where we want them to get to. But either way, it's going to be a really fun challenge, and it should be a lot of good fun. Regardless, to start the season off with, we did get ourselves into a pre-season tournament. You also see the training as well. In the first episode, of course, there are obviously no games. That always happens. We just do some transfer business. But either way, we get ourselves into the pre-season tournament. And as you can see, we drew the first game. We then drew the second game against Birmingham. And even though you still get prize money for going out in the group stage, I was really hopeful we would get through to the knockout stages and get as much money as possible, because quite frankly, we're skint. You know, we've got no money here at Paris FC whatsoever. We need as much money as we can get here to try and bring in a few more players, and as you can see, we draw this game as well, and hopefully we'll get through to the knockout stages of the pre-season tournament, and therefore we'll be able to get some more players in with the more prize money we'll be getting. But either way, there are some transfer targets we have with Paris FC, and we'll try and sign as many as possible as quickly as possible. Now, they're all young talents with, you know, relatively low starting overalls, but what you've got to remember is that these players will have some decent potential for the future. That's why we want to sign these young teenagers, get them straight in the first team, get them developing right from the beginning. They'll be leaders of this Paris FC side despite their age, due to their overall being just as good as the other players in the squad, even if they're older than these players coming in, and of course we'll hopefully develop them for Club and Country. Get it? So there you go. So Aziz Thiam of Monaco, Boga of Stade Rennais, and also Thierry Ambrose of Manchester City. These are the three transfer targets I looked at initially. They were the first ones that my scout got back for us. As you can see, quite low overalls. In Ultimate Team there would be bronze players, so not the best, but again, we're thinking about the future with these players. They can develop for the future, and of course this year, because the player training feature is in career mode, it should be a bit easier for me to try and bump their overalls up as soon as possible. Also, this centre-back as well from Sochar, we put in a transfer offer for him. He's only 58 overall, which is pretty poor, but 17 years old, he'll have potential for the future. Again, these are the players who, they may start off quite poor, but this series is all about progression, and therefore they will develop over time, and it'll be good fun to watch the progression of them episode after episode. So as you can see, City rejected a bid for Thierry Ambrose, which which is a bit of a shame. I think this guy could be one of the stars of the series. And also Boga, Stade Rennais did accept the bid we put in for him. Just valuation bids right from the beginning. We don't want to go overboard for the players because quite frankly we can't afford to do that. So valuation bids right from the beginning. Stade Rennais accepted a bid for Boga, but Monaco did reject a bid for Aziz Thiam. That's a bit of a shame. So we offer him a new deal at Monaco, and we shall wait and see what they say. Because Paris FC do have some foreign players as well, I struggle to sell players on career mode. I really do. I could have them on a transfer list for the entire window, and so few bids come in for them. So because of that, what I'm going to try and do is swap out the players to try and bring some younger players in as well. So you see I put in a swap deal there of Aziz Thiam. Monaco may not want that player, but we need to try and get rid of him because we can't use him because he's a foreign player. So we try and trade him to Monaco, and we'll wait and see what they say, as we also put in a new bid with for Aziz Thiam. And also following out, we have our third game in the group stage against Wolves, and to my surprise, we actually won a game. Paris FC beat Wolves, and that means we do go into the semi-finals of the Preseason Tournament in second place. So that was pretty good there. We get a little bit of tournament prize money, and regardless of whether we get knocked out in the semi-final or not, we'll still get some more prize money for that as well. So that's good to see. We'll get a little bit more prize money than I expected. That'll be over £1 million in total guaranteed, and that's good to see because we really did need that. So that's good to see, and after that some more player training as well. But still, we do make the first signing of the series as well. Boga is going to come in from Stade Rennais. I do believe this guy's actually a Chelsea loanee, or possibly he's a former Chelsea player, but either way, Boga's going to come in. I'm happy with that deal. It's a relatively low bid for him, and of course, yes, he's only 18 years old, and yes, he's got a starting overall of just 64, but you got to think about the future. Or was it 63? Can't remember now. You got to think about the future. These guys are going to go straight into the first team. They'll develop right from the beginning, and hopefully they'll be good for club and country come in the future as well. Monaco accepted a bid for Aziz Thiam, and also Sochar rejected this bid for the young centre-back, so we'll put in a new bid and wait and see what they say. It's good to see we can now offer a contract to Aziz Thiam. Again, we want to try and get as many of these young talents into the Paris FC side as soon as possible. Obviously, you know, it's not a big deal if you can't sign them all in the first season, which we won't be able to do, of course, but the more young talents with starting overalls, which are quite low right from the beginning, that we can get into the side as soon as possible, the better. Because as we progress through the series, the squad will get better, the overall team will get better, and therefore players that start off at this kind of overall won't go straight into the first team. But in the first season, right from the beginning, these players, despite only being, 63 overall, 64 overall, quite low overalls, they'll still go in the first team right away. So that's why we want to try and sign as many players as possible right from the beginning in order to, younger this side, make it a younger side, reduce the wage bill, but most importantly, get players in who will develop for the future despite their low overalls to begin with. Still, in the semi-final of the competition, we were knocked out by Sheffield United on penalties, so that was a bit of a shame. But we did get some more tournament prize money for it, though, as you can see. So over £1 million accumulated for the tournament, the pre-season tournament. That's great to see because we really did need as much money as possible. So I'm still not sad that we didn't get to the final. That's fine with me to get the money. I'm just happy we got over £1 million. And also we put in a new bid for Thierry Ambrose of Manchester City, 25 grand over his valuation at £650,000. And we'll wait and see what Pellegrini says because he would be a really, really good signing for us. And as you can see, following that, Sochar once again rejected a bid for the centre-back, but Thiam does become our second signing of the series. So Aziz Thiam comes in for £425,000 plus one of the foreign players who we're not able to use. So that's great to see. He becomes our second signing, and once again, I'll reiterate, he may not be great to begin with at 63 overall, but he's still good enough to go into the first team, and at just 18 years old, he's going to develop for the future, get as much game time as possible, and hopefully end up being good enough for club and country. So that's exactly why we want to sign as many of these young talents as possible, as soon as possible. And also City accept a bid for Thierry Ambrose at £650,000. Very, very happy with that. Yes, 25 grand over his valuation, but let's be honest here, even though we want to try and save as much money as possible, I'm fine paying that because Ambrose will develop for the future. He'll be our first choice striker. Hopefully he'll be the guy that bangs in the goals left, right and centre right from the beginning as an 18-year-old. He'll be a really good signing for us, and he does indeed accept his contract. So Ambrose comes in. That's our third signing made already. I'm really, really pleased with that. There are still quite a few players we want to bring in before the summer transfer window ends, but either way, it's good to know I've got my initial 3 targets in already before the season even starts competitively. That's great to see. Ambrose comes in. He's our third signing, sorry. Again, not a single player is 65 overall or over, but they're all 18 years old. They're all good enough for the first team, and they're all going to develop quite nicely. So I'm very happy with the Ambrose signing as well. Of course, we're still yet to get hold of this Sochar centre-back. back that I really do want. He's the lowest overall. We're looking at 58 overall, but even so, I'm sure he'll have good potential for the future, and I'd like to try and get hold of him as well. So we offered him this Georgian left back, plus I think it was 10 grand or 30 grand, okay, and we shall wait and see what they say. And we do have some more targets to look at as well. Quite a few other players that I've got in my my shortlist and on the scouting right now that I'm thinking of, but right now we're just trying to sell on some players, sell on some foreign players. Well, I'm not getting many transfer offers, as you can see, but we are going to get some loan offers to these players right here. Pierre is going to go out on loan. Yeah, I know he's a 34-year-old, I think he was, but he's a foreign player and he's just joined the club, and therefore we can't use him. So the best thing we can do really is loan him out and just get his wages paid for. So that's okay. He'll go out on loan, and I'm okay with that. I also put in a new bid for the Sochar centre back. As you can see, we're offering swap deals, and I understand that you may be sitting there thinking, why not just buy him? But it's because these players that I'm swapping out right now, or trying to swap out right now, aren't getting any transfer offers despite being on the transfer list. And of course, we can't use them as they're foreign. So we're just, crossing our fingers basically and hoping that Sochar will want to take one of the players off our hands. So we do loan out another player. That striker's going to go to Lons, and that's okay with me. Again, we can't use him. He's a foreign player. He's recently joined the club, so we can't sell him and put him on the transfer list. But just loaning him out and getting his wages paid for is the best option right there. And also a transfer offer for this player as well. Once again, it is a loan deal. It's the best we can do for these type of players right here, is we can't sell them, we can't use them, we'll just get their wages paid for, and that is the best thing we can do. So we loan them out, and as you can see, we finally do start getting transfer offers. It took a while, but come the end of July, we do get some transfer offers for some of our foreign players. We'll try and sell them as quickly as possible, get a little bit of scratch for them, and once they get sold, hopefully we'll be able to sign one or two more players that we can bring in for the club and that we can actually use, and also be good enough to develop for the future as well. So another bid comes in for King Keller, this time from Met. We do counter offer for £300,000. We'll wait and see what they say, and again, just making sure we can shift on these players who we can't use, get as much money for them as possible. Hopefully we'll be able to sign one or two more younger French players in the next episode. But that is going to end the first episode of Club and Country, guys. To end it, I show you the squad report and the squad that's set up to begin the season off with. We will start the season off competitively with our first competitive game, which will be played at the start of next episode. That'll be uploaded tomorrow evening, but already, as you can see, the squad is looking a little bit better just by those free signings alone. Boga, Thiam and Ambrose coming right from the beginning. They've all already gone up by 1 rating as well. That's great to see. I'm really excited for this challenge with Paris FC. It's going to take a long time, but I'm really excited for it, and it should be a lot of good fun. Now, as you can see the squad as well, this is how we will start the season off with. We can make a full French first 11 and bench as well. We've also got 4 French reserve players too, but these 7 players right here that I'm highlighting in the reserves, all of these players right here are foreign players. We can't use them. We have to sell them, loan them, release them from their contracts, and there's 2 players that are actually loaned in here at Paris FC, and we'll terminate those loan deals as soon as possible. So those players will not get used. They will either get sold, loaned out, or released, or they'll just sit in our reserves and never get any game time. But either way, we still have enough French players for a first 11 and a bench as well, and that is the most important thing. But thank you for watching the first episode of Club and Country, guys. I really hope you have enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed the episode, then please do consider leaving a like rating, because that is much appreciated. It really does help my channel out, and I'll see you for the next episode of Club and Country tomorrow evening. See you then.